We want to go in depth now tonight on the big news from TVA. The utility announced yesterday it is cutting production at some of its coal plants. TVA is idling 9 units, including 2 at John Sevier near Rogersville, 1 unit at the Shawnee plant in Paducah, Kentucky, and 6 units at Widows Creek in northeast Alabama. TVA says the coal plants are aging, and with new EPA regulations coming soon, it would be too expensive to buy the equipment necessary to comply with those new regulations. So the utility will switch to more nuclear power and renewable energy sources, something TVA CEO Tom Kilgore says will have a positive impact on our environment.
All 3 of these things, as we talk about idling plants, building nuclear, and really pursuing energy efficiency to the max, all 3 of those have a positive effect on clean air.
So we want to talk now with Stephen Smith, Executive Director of the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, a local environmental group, to get another view on this big announcement. So, Stephen, was this a surprise to you, or did you see it coming?
No, we've seen it coming. It makes absolute sense. These are some of TVA's oldest, least efficient, and dirtiest plants, and so they have a very positive impact on the environment. Less coal mined, less air pollution getting into our lungs and into the park, and less things like coal ash produced. So it's a very positive development.
We'll talk about how you think nuclear will actually be better for the environment.
Well, we're not necessarily saying that nuclear is better. We know that as TVA looks at retiring more coal plants, it's going to be part of the mix. But as Tom Kilgore mentioned, TVA is going to be looking at more energy efficiency. They need to be looking at renewable energy. There's even some opportunity for natural gas production. So part of TVA's long-range planning will determine exactly what's going on. TVA does have an institutional bias towards nuclear power, and we expect that they're going to move in that direction. But we need to make sure it's the right thing for economics and for the risk associated with it going that direction.
Can you talk a little bit about where there are nuclear plants currently in our area?
Yeah, we actually have several nuclear plants. We have the Watts Bar nuclear plant is the closest one, down towards Dayton, Tennessee, and then further down towards Chattanooga there's the Sequoia nuclear power plant, and then there's another over in North Alabama. And TVA is actively looking at another Alabama site called Bellefonte. So we have several in the area, but they're not. I think the closest is probably about 40 miles away.
So what would you all, as an environmental group, what would you like to see TVA's next step be?
Well, the next step is really to focus in on maximizing energy efficiency, squeezing more work out of each kilowatt hour, and TVA is making some important strides there. We need to get more renewable energy on the grid. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and we think TVA needs to move more aggressively there. And then look at, in the high-risk category with either natural gas or nuclear power or coal, you need to come up with the right balance, and we think natural gas can play a role. And, you know, ultimately we'll have to see how many coal plants TVA retires, which may mean a further expansion of nuclear power, but that's still to be determined.
Is there anything else you think people who live in this area need to know, consumers of energy?
Well, I think the bottom line is that yesterday's announcement is absolutely good news. One, it actually reduces the amount of pollution. It helps us breathe easier. It's going to help the environment in a lot of ways, and I think it's actually going to make TVA a more efficient utility. So I think we all ought to applaud that. And it's long overdue. Many of these plants are approaching 50 or 60 years old.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen Smith with the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, TVA expects the cuts to coal production will take until the year 2015. During that time, TVA CEO Tom Kilgore says about 200 jobs are at stake. However, some people are eligible for retirement, others will move to other TVA locations, and some will stay to disassemble the plant.